You're going to like this. Feed your strength. Feed your strength. Success is the outcome of leaning on, utilizing, maximizing your strength. Success is the outcome of using the very best resources you have to create the life that you want. So success is the outcome of leaning on your strength, utilizing your strength, maximizing your strength. That is what produces success. On the other hand, failure is the outcome of leaning on your weaknesses. Let me say that again. Failure is the outcome of leaning on your weaknesses. When you lean on your strength and utilize your strength, you produce results. You produce results. But when you lean on your weaknesses and use your weaknesses, weakness leads to failure. Failure is the result of allowing your weaknesses to dominate you. Let me say that again. Failure is the outcome of allowing your weaknesses to dominate you. Success is the outcome of allowing your strength to dominate you. Let me say something very quickly. We all have weaknesses. Every single one of us have weaknesses. Every single one of us. We have weaknesses. However, the people who choose to lean on their strength and work on their strength and maximize their strength and deploy their strength and utilize their strength, they become successful. The people who fail to utilize their strength but lean on their weaknesses, they lean on their weaknesses, it will produce failure. But if you lean on your strength, you will produce success. If you lean on your strength, you will produce success in your life. Success is not an accident. Success is very intentional. Successful people, champions, they lean on their strength. It doesn't mean that they don't have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. However, successful people lean on their strength. But failures lean on their weaknesses. They lean on their weaknesses. Successful people feed their strength. They feed it. They feed their strength. You know what you're good at. You have that skill set, that ability, that desire. You feed it. Successful people feed their strength. They're intentional about feeding their strength. So the more you feed your strength, the stronger you become. The more you feed your strength, the stronger you become. The more you feed your strength, you sharpen your skill set, you develop your ability. The more you feed your talent and your skill set and your ability, the stronger you become. Successful people intentionally feed their strength. They develop their skill sets and their abilities. They maximize their potential. But failures do not feed their strength. They feed their weaknesses. They lean on their weaknesses. They project their weaknesses. In fact, they use their weaknesses as an excuse for failure. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we either feed our strength or we feed our weaknesses. Let me tell you something. Every day you're feeding something in your life. You're either feeding your strength or you're feeding your weakness. Every day you're feeding something, my brother, my sister. You're feeding something, my friends. You're feeding something. You're either feeding your strength or you're feeding your weaknesses. You're either feeding your strength or you're feeding your weaknesses, my friends. And you cannot feed your weaknesses and expect success in your life. It's not going to happen. You cannot feed your weaknesses and expect success in your life. It is not going to happen. You have to intentionally feed your strength. Feed your strength. Feed your strength. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you feed grows. If you feed your strength, it will grow. You feed your strength, it will help you accelerate your success. It will help you become the best you can be. If you feed your strength, feeding your strength, your skill set, your abilities, your talents, feed them and feed them. Cause them to grow, and when they grow, you'll be able to produce consistent results when you feed your strength, your talents, your skill set, your abilities. You know, feeding your strength is like you're watering, you plant some flowers in your garden, and you start watering them, but you water them daily, and you take care of your strength, and you take care of the seed. You know this is going to grow, and you take care of it, and it begins to grow, and after a while it begins to produce flowers for you. You're feeding your strength. You know this thing is good. You know this is good. These flowers are going to look good when they come out. Feeding your strength, your skill set, your abilities, your talent, what you're good at. What you're good at, what makes you stand out, what makes you unique, your strength. You're feeding your strength. You're looking for all the resources to feed your strength, feed your mind, feed yourself in the area of your highest, strongest, greatest competence. You're feeding your dominant gift, your strength. Feed it, feed it, feed it. And when you feed your strength, you begin to create predictable results in your life. You produce predictable results of success in your life. But the people who fail to feed their strength, and people who feed their weaknesses, they feed their weaknesses. They feed their weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. Some people feed their weaknesses. It's like allowing weeds to grow in that your garden. Weeds grow. Weeds. If you're a gardener here, you understand what I'm saying. When you see weeds growing around your plant, you weed out, you remove the weeds. But people who allow their weaknesses, who feed on their weaknesses, is like weeds growing up to choke your plants, to kill your plants, to destroy your plants. Weeds, weaknesses, your weaknesses. Listen, if you're an adult, you know your weaknesses. I don't need to tell you your weaknesses. You know what your weaknesses are. You know what your weaknesses are. Some of you have certain desires, and clinicians call these things addictions. You have certain inclinations towards certain things, and your weaknesses. You know your weaknesses. You know your weaknesses. When I was in school, one of our lecturers told me something. He told the class something. He said, listen. He said, if you give me $1 million, if you give me $1 million to keep for you cash, not $1 will be missing. I will give you your money when you come to ask for it. It doesn't matter when you come to ask for it. I cannot be tempted by money. It's not possible. I will keep your money for you. But you know what he said? He said, you cannot keep me in the same room with a woman. I'll be tempted. He said, I will be tempted. That is what he said. He said, I will be tempted. So the man knows his strength and he knows his weaknesses. He said he can never be tempted with money. You can give him any amount of money to keep for you. You will come back and collect your money. Every dollar will be complete. But he said, Don't put me in the same room with a woman because I'll be tempted. I'll be tempted. You have to tell yourself that truth and acknowledge your strength and acknowledge your weakness. And when you know your strength and your weakness, you begin to feed your strength and starve your weakness. Starve it. Starve your weakness. Starve your weakness. Starve it. Starve it. But feed your strength. Feed it. Cause your strength to grow. But starve your weakness. Some of you, you're making such a big mistake. You're going to all the wrong places where you feed your weaknesses. You go to all the wrong places. You mix with all the wrong people who feed your weaknesses, and they are making you weaker every day. Every day. You hang out with the wrong people who are feeding your weaknesses. You know you have certain weaknesses and you're hanging out with the wrong people. You're hanging out in the wrong places. You're hanging out on the wrong sites on the internet. You're watching the wrong things. You're on the wrong social media platforms. You're hanging out with the wrong accounts. You're seeing things you ought not to see, and you're feeding your weaknesses. You know your weaknesses. Nobody needs to tell you your weaknesses. I don't need to spell it out to you. You know your weaknesses. You know your weaknesses. Stop feeding your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses and feed your strength. Starve your weaknesses and feed your strength. Now listen, high performing individuals, champions, winners, they feed their strength. They feed their strength. They feed their strength. But low performing individuals, they feed their weaknesses. They lean towards their weaknesses, and that is why they produce very low, dismal results in their lives. But high-performing individuals, champions, they feed their strength. They feed their strength. They feed their strength. Listen, to be successful, you have to learn. You have to be intentional about feeding your strength and starving your weaknesses. You have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional about it. It is not an accident. Be very intentional about feeding your strength. What are you good at? What are you good at? Feed it. What is your strength? Feed it. Stop comparing yourself with other people. What are you? What are you good at? Begin to feed it. Begin to feed your strength and sharpen your skill sets and your talents and your abilities. What are your strengths? Begin to feed your strength and starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. If your weaknesses, they want you to go somewhere. They want you to go somewhere that is wrong for you, that is unhealthy for you. Starve it. Just refuse to go. Refuse to hang out with the wrong people. Refuse to hang out in the wrong places. Refuse to read the wrong books. Refuse to watch the wrong movies. Refuse to feed your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. You must avoid the people who feed your weaknesses. You know these people who feed your weaknesses. You know them. You know the people who feed your weaknesses. Avoid those people who feed your weaknesses. When you gather together, you start talking about the things you ought not to talk about, and they feed your weaknesses, and they make you weaker, and they make you weaker, and they make you weaker, and your resistance level just goes to zero. Avoid such people who feed your weaknesses. You know your weaknesses, so avoid them. Avoid those people. Avoid such conversations. Avoid such places. Feed your strength. Starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. Avoid people. You know, some of you have to redefine your friendships. Some of those your friends are unhealthy for you. They're unhealthy for you. You have to redefine your friendships. Anyone who feeds your weakness is an enemy. Anyone feeding your weaknesses is an enemy. Some of you guys, you're married, but you have a friend who is always bringing you girls. He's always bringing you girls. You know your weakness. You know your weakness. Why are you hanging around that friend who is feeding your weakness? The guy is always surrounded by women. He always has girls around him. And you're going to visit him always. No, don't do that. That is your weakness. So protect yourself. Don't go to such places. Avoid such people. When you get there, you will be tempted and you will fall. And you will cry. Let me tell you, avoiding temptation just means, listen to me, listen. Avoid that man who is feeding your weakness. Avoid him. It doesn't matter for how long you've been friends. Just avoid him. Some of you women, you also have friends, lady friends who introduce all kinds of men to you. And you know it is wrong for you. You know your weakness. You know what you can handle. You know what you can't handle. Avoid that woman. Avoid that place. Avoid that gathering. There are places you should not go to. There are parties you should not go to. There are places you should not go to. Why? Because they feed your weaknesses. You know that these things feed your weaknesses, so avoid them. Stop going to people and places that feed your weaknesses. Start going to people and places that feed your strength. People who encourage you, people who set you on fire. Spend time with me, I feed your strength. Spend time. If you spend time with me, I feed your strength. I set you on fire for your destiny and for your dream and for your vision and for God's plan agenda for your life. Spend time with me. I set you on fire. I don't feed weaknesses. I feed strength. I feed your strength. I feed your strength. I feed your strength. Be the one they come to feed their strength. Be the one who feeds their strength. Be the one that will feed their strength. When they try to feed your weaknesses, say no. Say no, I refuse it. You will not feed my weaknesses. You will not strengthen my weaknesses. I refuse it. I will starve my weaknesses and I will feed my strength. If you come around me, I will feed your strength. Be that person, be that man, be that woman who people come to feed their strength. Be that man, be that woman. Be that man, be that woman. When your friends come around you, you feed their strength. You feed their strength. You feed their strength. So they come around you for you to feed them and to strengthen them, make them stronger, make them more skillful, make them more determined to be successful with their dream, with their vision, with God's plan and agenda and purpose for their lives. Feed your strength. Starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. What are your strengths? What do you need to feed them? Who are the people who feed your strength? What books and resources do you need to feed your strength? What places do you need to go to feed your strength? Who are the people that feed your strength? When you have conversations with them, they feed your strength and you feel stronger and you feel, oh my goodness, I can do this. I can make it. I can be successful. They feed your strength. They make you feel unstoppable. They make you feel awesome. They stir you up to produce results in your life. Who are the people who feed your strength? Hang around those people. Spend time with those people who feed your strength. And starve your weaknesses. Stop going to the places and the people who feed your weaknesses, because feeding your weaknesses will lead you on a pathway to failure and self-destruction. Feed your strength. Starve your weakness. Feed your strength. Starve your weakness. Give it no chance. Give your weaknesses no. Let me tell you something. The only way for you to be successful is to feed your strength. Feed your strength and starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. That's a secret to success. Feed your strength. What are you good at? What is your dream? What is the area of your strength, your competence? What is your dominant gift? What is that thing you do so well that you produce results effortlessly? Feed it. Some of you are good at communicating. Feed that strength. Some of you you're good at writing. Feed that strength. Some of you are good at helping people. Feed that strength. Some of you are good at creating products and services. Feed that strength. Feed your strength. Feed it. Feed it. Daily wake up and feed it. Read the right books. Listen to the right messages. Listen to the right people. Follow the right accounts. feed your strength and starve your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses. Stop going to the places that feed your weaknesses. Stop hanging around people who feed your weaknesses. Stop hanging around social media platforms that feed your weaknesses. Stop going to websites that feed your weaknesses. Starve your weaknesses and feed your strength. Starve your weaknesses and feed your strength. That's the secret to success. That is the secret to success.